Hi guys, this is Peugeot 307SW from 2005 and today I will replace AC compressor clutch. Before we start any work, let's go through the basics. There are two belts in your car. There's the timing belt under this cover here, and then working with the timing belt requires much more skills and knowledge than working with the auxiliary belt, which is located here. The auxiliary belt is driving components such as the alternator or the AC, there it is, AC compressor here. So the driving force is the crankshaft, so this pulley drives the belt and rotates the pulley of the air conditioning compressor and then the alternator. And this here is just the tensioner for the belt. Okay, so now let's start to loosen the tensioner. You can do it from above. You can also do it from under the car. I do it from under the car to show you how it's done. Now you see I can pull the tensioner up and I can remove the belt. But before I do it, we need to mark the rotation on the belt, so we put it in the exact same order. Okay, I'm not too demanding, so simple arrow is going to be alright. Okay, so now we can remove the belt. We use size 15 socket key, and now we pull the tensioner up here, and then we remove the belt. Now, if we go under the car once more, this is your AC compressor. Here you have a label which you can read without removing any components. So if you're wondering how to buy the assembly of this Pulley Electromagnet and the clutch, then you just need to read the label and give this information to the manufacturer of these spare parts. And then he should be able to pick the one that you need. This here is the electrical connection for the electromagnet, which is located on the inside of this pulley. It's not fixed to the pulley, so you see I can rotate it freely, but when the magnet is engaged, it basically pulls this clutch towards the pulley, and then it engages the compressor, and the compressor is then driven by the belt through the clutch. And now if we put a lot of force, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I basically put some force with my fingers and then I lock the clutch to the pulley. And when you press the AC button on the dashboard, what it does is it gives power to this connection, and then your clutch engages with the pulley and your compressor starts to work. In my case that doesn't happen, so I will remove this part, and since I have already bought the new one, I will replace it. We can do one more measurement before we remove this pulley, and that is to measure the gap here. You don't need to do it, it's not necessary, but if you have the possibility, you could do it, and then you can verify that this gap is the same when you install the new one. There are going to be spacers inside there. I will show you that when I remove it, and they basically control how big is this gap. So you will see that later on, but now let me continue with the disassembly. Okay, so you can use a special tool to remove it, and that's recommended. I don't have it, but if you have it, then you insert the tool here in these two bolts, and then hold the clutch in place so it doesn't rotate, and then use a key from the top and you work on the nut. I don't have the tool, so I will try to work with conventional tools, and let's see how it's going to work. Okay, the previous idea didn't work too well, so the next idea is to build a platform from the ground and then have some support here to prevent further rotation, and then use a key Yes. Okay, now I think I can do it without the support. Okay, so we have the nut released, and now we can remove the clutch. And there's the clutch. Okay, it's pretty rusty. I see that it did not work for a longer time, but we will compare it to the new one later on. Now, regarding the pulley, I'll try to show you. There's the ring that you need to remove in order to be able to get the pulley out. So that's what we are going to do now. Okay, so now we take this type of tool to remove the inner ring, and then unfortunately we need to do some gymnastics to do that. But thanks to that, we don't need to remove this whole compressor from the car. So, almost there. And there it flies. That's how the ring looks like. And now we should be able to pull the pulley out of the compressor. I didn't use much force yet. Most importantly, it needs to go out smoothly, and now I see that it has an angle. That's why we need to hit it back a bit and then pull it out. And that's your pulley. Before we can remove this electromagnet, we need to disconnect it. So if you pull this up and then pull it backwards, you will be able to disconnect it. Okay, when this is out, we simply pull this end off that way to release the cable together with connection. Okay, and now we will have to work on another snap ring. There's so little space there that I'm not sure if you will be able to see it. There's one part of it. And basically there's the snap ring. Okay, now before removing the electromagnets, I wanted to check the resistance. So I did that, and these are the results. Okay, so if you see here, the new electromagnet has very similar resistance to the old one, and therefore, if not the same, and therefore I believe that the old one is good as well, and it's not the fault of the electromagnet. So I will keep the original one. I will only replace the pulley together with the bearing and the clutch. If you need to replace your electromagnet, there's a snap ring inside the magnet, a bit larger than the one we removed for the pulley, and then you just need to remove it. You need a larger tool for the snap rings because it's much deeper than before, but you can remove it in the same way using a bit larger tool, and then the electromagnet should come off easily. Now this is the old pulley. The surface here is where the clutch should engage. So basically, electromagnet should pull the clutch to the pulley, and then through friction the pulley should turn together with the clutch, which through this interface rotates the whole compressor and gives it power to work. If you're short of money and you don't want to replace the whole set, you can replace the bearing and start there. It's very common that this gets worn out, but buying a set like this one is a bit more expensive than just replacing the bearing, but it gives you relatively higher chance that the whole assembly is going to work, and then well, it looks much better. Of course, it's not so rusty, and still it costs 1/3 of the price of a new AC compressor. So that's still a win for you. But of course, you can try to first of all replace this. Just press it out, but then you need to use some mechanical press, I guess, or hydraulical. Yeah, and then put in a new bearing and try it out. I will put the new assembly in and we will see how it works. Okay, since I decided to keep the electromagnet in place, I will just reconnect it. So I will put it, slide it back in its original place, and then just click this connection in place. Then I will use a piece of cloth to clean the internals. Before installing new pulley, I will put some copper paste here just to help the pulley to get in place and prevent it from being stuck again. And now, very gently and equally on all of the sides, we can start to put in new pulley. And now, using rubber hammer, we can try to help ourselves to get it through the critical parts. Very gently. And here we have the pulley in place. There's no movement. The pulley is fixed. I've cleaned the snap ring, and now it's time to put it in place. Yes, and there it sits nice and tight. If you now take the clutch and install it back in place straight away, you will see that there's no gap here, that the clutch is engaged at all times. You can hear the sound. And that's because we need a very important spacer. So we put it back in place. That's why it's so important not to lose them. And then we install a new clutch. And now there's no noise. And now we can install one remaining nut. Okay, after installing new clutch and new pulley, I checked the gap, and well, that's going in easily. This is going in with a bit of force, so I would say this is correct. And then the gap decreased from 0.6 to 0.2. Not sure if this is if this is correct, but we can install everything back and see how it goes. It doesn't make any sound though. Now, before we install auxiliary belt back in place, we can inspect it for cracks. It looks pretty good. So to install it, we basically do the reverse of what we did at the beginning. Okay, I was trying to put the video together for you guys, but I noticed that the camera moved while I was trying to reinstall the belt back in place, and it didn't register any footage, so I decided just to go and do it now, so it's clearly visible. And this time I'll be working from above the car, and I'll put the camera below so you have a good view of the belt. Okay, so first of all I need to get it off again so you can see how I reinstall it. Okay, so the belt is off. You can see that it's off, and now we put it back in place. I like to leave this part for the AC compressor not connected to the pulley, because then I have good access to the tensioner. Okay, last look at all pulleys, and we have the belt back in place. And now we can inspect all the pulleys carefully to see that the belt is in the correct place. Okay, so as you see, each and every pulley and its interface sits correct, and therefore we are ready to start the engine. I almost forgot, you also need to remove the sticker. And now we are ready to start the engine. Okay, so let's start the engine. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and if you'd like to see more Peugeot 307 mechanics, check my channel out. I've got plenty of videos about this car, and good luck with your Peugeot.